Good afternoon. This is Taffy Gill, and I'm a customer success manager at WebEngage. Thanks for joining in. So, the primary role of a customer success manager at WebEngage entails to ensure that our clients are able to make the best utilization of the WebEngage ecosystem so as to be able to get the best possible customer engagement and customer retention. The agenda for today's discussion is what all strategies a brand can implement to get the best possible traction. Uh, Maybe have the presentation, please. Thank you very much. So the pointers that I'll be covering in today's discussion would pertain around the top use cases that D2C brands can adopt, some campaign optimization suggestions, how a lot of different analytics can be utilized to improve customer engagement and retention, a lot of ideas with regards to the content that you can utilize, and actionables, insights, and best practices from some of the top brands in the industry that we have. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, so the scenario is that let's say a brand has onboarded a marketing automation platform, the integrations are done. When I say integration, that simply means that the relevant user attributes and event attributes are flowing properly to the marketing automation dashboard. And that is when we go about creating a lot of different use cases. Now, we at WebEngage follow a very methodical process when it comes to implementing use cases. So as you can see, there's a bifurcation when it comes to use cases at our end. We have divided the use cases into three broad types, starting from the hygiene use cases, the basic use cases, and the advanced use cases. Now, the reason for this is very simple. The hygiene use cases do not require a lot of tech intervention. With the basic integration that exists, these use cases can be kickstarted. Moreover, the content for these use cases also doesn't require a lot of time to be created. So as you can see, some of the hygiene use cases are welcome series, anonymous to registered, lead capture, so on and so forth. One of the biggest advantages of hygiene use cases is that not only are they simple to implement, but the traction, which is the engagement and the revenue that they drive, is also very quick to be realized. Okay. The second sort of use cases are the basic ones. While they can also be taken ahead with the basic level of integration that exists, but some amount of thought, some amount of effort is still required because a brand might want to ascertain that what is the right time to cross sell a particular item, what will be the right time to nudge a user who has been dormant for some time. So since all of that requires some amount of consideration, thought process, basic ones take a little longer. The third type of use cases are the advanced ones, which in majority of the occasions cannot be just simply taken ahead with the basic integration that exists. So for that, we require additional integrations. In majority of the cases, data flowing from the backend systems, the client's POS systems. So once that is there, the advanced ones can also be taken ahead. But since they require more of a technical intervention, taking these forward would take time. So the ideal way for any D2C brand to proceed forward would be from hygiene to the basic and to the advanced ones. So let's just get started with the use cases that we have. So the very first use case that I would like to talk about are the welcome series. So a user has been onboarded onto a particular brand. These all are the set of pointers that a brand should ideally be talking about. You can start off with the founder's message, which should ideally talk about what all is the mission that the brand has, the vision that the brand has. That's because a lot of users in today's time are interested in knowing the background based on which that brand came into existence. It also would make a lot of sense if you can talk about the USPs of your brand. So let's say if I am a brand which is into shoes. So if I talk about the quality of the leather that we use, the skill level of the workers who make that particular product, the techniques that we use, if let's say we have got a patent, let's say for a particular technology that we use, that should also be highlighted. That's because all of these aspects go a long way in creating an additional trust that the consumer would have. The second thing that you could do is send across a promo code. I mean, who doesn't like reduced prices, right? You can also talk about some of your best selling products, some of your best selling categories. uh, you could talk about some of the new arrivals that you have. That's because in today's time people are really keen on getting their hands on what is new in the market. Of course, we would also need to have something that is there for people who are discount chasers or people who are uh, up for saving money. So for that, you can have something with the lines of, let's say, a discount proposition, or maybe a combo offering also, if it can be offered at a reduced price. Lastly, we should also have something which is on the lines of educational content. That's because if we go out there simply with the objective to sell, not many people would be inclined to engage with a brand. But let's say if there's a brand which is into, let's say, healthcare, and it is, let's say, sensitizing its users about the daily problems that the users face and how those problems can be addressed. So, I mean, selling should definitely be done, but in a very subtle manner. So, welcome series is simply sending across a series of communications staggered at time intervals to ensure, or rather to capitalize on the user's brand recall. Okay. Uh, I have shared two samples of a welcome series that a brand by the name of Arata is doing. So, the very first nudge that it sends is a promo code, which is inducing users to go for the first purchase. The second communication talks about the best sellers that they have. So along the same lines, there could be a series of communication which could be omni-channel. So it could be for web push, it could be for email, SMS, so on and so forth. Now, for all of these slides that I have, if you'll see at the bottom, I have cited the observed impact. This numbers that I've quoted here are for the brands, for the average of all the brands that we have. So please don't misconstrue that these numbers are for the content that I've shown. Okay, we'll move on to the next case now. So another scenario is anonymous to registered. So a lot of brands get visitors or on their website who might allow for, let's say, receiving web push notifications, but they might not register. When I say register, they might not share their phone numbers or their email IDs. So a very potent approach that a lot of brands in today's time are utilizing is wherein they simply create a logic that, okay, all the people who opted in for web push notifications, uh, they should enter a particular targeting flow. There has to be a wait for, let's say, a 1 day, and then you quickly check, did that user also ended up sharing his or her email ID or phone number? If yes, the user is not nudged. But in the other case, you can send across web push notifications wherein you could induce the user to come back onto the website and to share their email ID and phone number. So the example on the right highlights how Azani is utilizing this anonymous to register targeting via web push as a channel. So they are providing a 10% discount code to users who will click on this web push, go back to the website, register themselves. So this way, not only are you able to generate increasing amount of email database and SMS database that you can capitalize on, but this is a very good source of engagement to also promote other offers. So in this particular case, while they're only capitalizing on sign up, what you could also do is, in today's time, the web push ecosystem permits multiple call to action buttons also to be utilized. So to ensure that your communication doesn't go waste, you could also incorporate a button next to the sign up, wherein if, let's say, the user is not keen on signing up, you can still maybe promote another offer, which could be, let's say, the discount section or the bestseller. So something along those lines. We'll move on to the next slide now. Okay. So while anonymous to registered was for a scenario wherein the user has left the website, there could be a lot of cases wherein the user is on the website, but let's say he or she has not shared their personally identifiable information for, let's say, a minute or two. Now, that is when these lead capture campaigns come in very handy. So the beauty of marketing automation tools is that you can actually decide who gets to see these particular campaigns and when do they get triggered. So a lead capture campaign should ideally be run for users who are coming to the website for the very first time. So this way you can choose that, okay, this particular campaign should only show up after a user has spent, let's say, 2 minutes in the session, or let's say 45 seconds on a particular page. So there could be both and or conditions that you can incorporate. Of course, you can also choose the segment to which this particular campaign should be showcased. So with this, brands can ensure that there's a continuously increasing database of email IDs and phone numbers. Now, that is not where ideally the process should stop. We at WebEngage have also developed a approach wherein the moment the user fills in the email address and the phone number, and when he or she clicks on submit, you can also trigger a welcome series. So The moment Taffy shares the email ID and phone number, Taffy would be able to get a series of communications as we discussed in the earlier case. The example on the right talks about exit intent based targeting, wherein a user is coming onto the website and assuming that he or she is about to leave the website. This particular campaign gets triggered before the user leaves the website. So, what a lot of brands are doing is they are promoting their USPs, they're also offering promo codes. Now, in this particular case, this particular example was deliberately chosen because you can see that this highlights the 25% off very prominently. I have seen a lot of brands which highlight the promo code more prominently than actually the discount offering that is there. So, uh, a suggestion from my side: the discount offering should always be prominent. That's because if that is something that is inducing enough, the user would definitely make an effort to ascertain the promo code that is there. So the next set of campaigns that I'll be talking about pertain to funnel drop-off targeting. So any D2C brand would have an end objective that they want the customer should comply with. Okay. So for, let's say, a typical fashion brand, it could be a user coming onto, let's say, the homepage, performing a category view, proceeding to product view, doing an added to cart, and then eventually doing a checkout started. So the funnel drop-off targeting ideally covers that particular scenario, wherein you create different targeting flow or targeting logic based on these parameters. So a user did a category view, didn't do a product view, target them. A user did added to cart, didn't do a checkout completed, you target them. uh, while a lot of brands have started this particular approach, but a lot of them have not been able to alter the, or rather, in a way, improve the effectiveness of the retargeting. Because I go to a lot of brands, I perform an added to cart, and even after doing an added to cart, when I, let's say, go on to the checkout started stage, I get two emails: one for the added to cart and second for the checkout started. Now, ideally, the entire ecosystem of, let's say, funnel drop off targeting should be built in such a way that a user should not get more than one communication. The platform and the person making that logic flow or the targeting flow should make it in such a way that for one particular funnel drop off, the user should get one communication. So ideally, if I've done an added to cart and not done a checkout started, and thereafter, let's say just moments thereafter, I've done a checkout started and I'm waiting for a checkout completed, I should just get one communication. So that's the best way to orchestrate the entire targeting flow, so as to be able to ensure that we don't first of all bombard our users, but at the same time reach out to them in the most optimum manner possible. So on the right hand side, there's a template that Nicobar is running via WebEngage, which personalizes the first name of the user. It showcases the product that the user added to cart along with the image. Please note, in this particular scenario, the complete your order has been deliberately kept, the CTA button for complete your order has been deliberately kept on the top and not at the bottom. That's because we don't want our users to be scrolling unnecessarily. Uh, Such approaches has got us much better traction compared to the case wherein this particular CTA was at the bottom of the email template. Uh, Here are some pointers that uh, Payment.com identified, which points out that what all are the various reasons why a user abandons his or her cart, or why they don't actually complete the checkout process. So if we are able to mitigate majority of these, I'm quite certain that we would be able to drive much better conversion rates and resultantly much better revenue as well. So just to take up a few scenarios, 25% people said that the reason why they abandoned checkout was that the site wanted them to create an account. So perhaps if brands can offer ability of, let's say, purchasing in the guest checkout mode, that is something that can address this problem. Another problem which 18% of the respondents felt was that the entire checkout process was too long or complicated. So I think a checkout flow which has as few steps as possible is the best checkout flow to ensure that the user doesn't end up spending a lot of time. Now there could be some other aspects like I don't trust the site with my credit card information. So if you prominently display the logos that highlight the fact that the website has a very secure payment system, that's going to go a long way in ensuring that we get more purchases rather than more carts that are waiting to be completed. So you can just go through the other set of reasons also. So there weren't enough payment methods, the credit card was declined. So something along those lines can also be addressed to ensure better conversions. I'll move on to the next slide now. Okay, cross sell series. So there would be a lot of users who would be coming onto your site and buying products. Okay, so in this particular case, firstly on the right hand side, Arata as a brand is actually pitching. So in this particular case, they are promoting hair related products via a web push. Okay, so they are saying not only just try the hair cream, but they're also trying to upsell using the second CTA, which is on the left, which says that get hairstyling combo. So cross selling can be done on multiple nuances. The first can be within the category, and there can be two bifurcations. You can cross sell a product based on what a user has purchased. Okay, so a Taffy purchased product A from a particular category. Now that category might have product B and C also. So the very first cross selling effort can be directed towards uh, cross selling a relevant product within the same category based on purchase. The second nuance can be cross selling a product based on what Taffy either viewed or what Taffy added to cart but did not purchase. Okay, so this again is within the same category. The third kind of cross selling can be with regards to Taffy purchase from a particular category, now showcase other categories that are there. So let's say for a men's grooming brand, if Taffy purchased from the hair care category, how about we pitch him face care, or how about we pitch him skin care? So something along those lines could also go a long way ensuring that we increase the average order value. Okay, now there could be a lot of scenarios wherein the user is willing to make the payment, but due to technical reasons, either due to uh, there being insufficient funds in the credit card, or maybe due to the details being incorrect, the user tried to make a payment, but the payment failed. Okay, so for those specific set of scenarios, all that brands need to do is you can simply integrate a payment failure event which can easily be obtained from your payment gateways and route it to the marketing automation systems, and just trigger a communication which will simply say that your payment has failed, and if you want to cite the reason, even that can be done. So this is again an approach which comes in very handy to reach out to users for whom the payment has failed due to technical reasons, because their intent was definitely to make a purchase. So the sample on the right highlights that your payment has failed, and it also gives information about the products that for which the payment had actually failed. And obviously then there would be links which when clicked upon would redirect the user back onto that stage wherein he or she can simply just try making a payment with some other mode and get done with the purchase process. Okay, so the next use case that we have is pertaining to birthday targeting. So the approach herein is very simple. Brands should ideally be passing date of birth of every user to the platform, and then you can simply create journeys. Now, in this particular case, the sample that we have, Clovia, which is a intimate wear brand, is sending across birthday greetings to users on the day of birthday. Okay, so not only does such a communication makes the end user feel valued, but it also induces a conversion. Okay, or it also motivates the user to purchase. So if we have a look at the creative that is there, it's offering a promo code. Okay, now I've removed the promo code, but the promo code is being offered, and the good part is that it's saying that the coupon is valid till 15 days from now, which means that the user is induced to make a purchase, else she would not be able to make good use of the coupon that is there. Another good aspect about this particular communication is that herein we are populating dynamic coupons for every user. So it's not the case that Taffy got a communication, if I am not interested in using that coupon, I can just simply share it with my friend. That's not how it works. That's because in this particular scenario there's a dynamic coupon that is flowing for every different user. uh, you can have a look at the conversion rate that this particular campaign is driving. Fairly good, considering the fact that it's targeting users based on birthdays. Okay, now we have something along similar lines, which is anniversary targeting. Uh, I'm sure that a lot of brands in today's time are sending us communications when a user completes 1 year with the brand, 2 years with the brand, 5 years for the brand with the brand. But I personally would like to take it one notch above. Instead of just sensitizing the user of the fact that you've completed 1 year, 2 year, or 5 years, a much better approach would be that a user who's completed 1 year should be given a different treatment, maybe give them a discount code. But a user who has, let's say, completed 5 years, uh, instead of just giving them a promo code or a discount code, why not give them exclusive invites? Why not encourage them to, maybe if let's say your sale is starting at a particular time, why not invite them to be a part of that particular sale, let's say 2 days in advance? Hence, bucketization of users is very important even when it comes to anniversary targeting. Okay, so I've again shared two samples. Both are offering a promo code, but as in the earlier case, in the case of Novia, they're again offering a coupon code which has a validity. Okay, so that induces the user to buy it before the offer lapses. So the next campaign that we have is the replenishment targeting. Such a targeting comes in very handy when we are talking about products that are of a perishable nature. So some of the nuances herein is, let's say I purchased a particular product which is going to, let's say, run out in the next 10 days. So the moment the order is fulfilled, the brand already has advanced information that this particular product, which is, let's say, of 500 ml or 750 ml, is going to perish or is going to expire in the next, let's say, 15 days. Now the targeting flow can be created in such a way that you can very systematically nurture and remind the user that, hey, the product that you purchase is going to finish in the next, let's say, so and so days, so why not reorder it, so that by the time that product perishes, you would have got a replacement for the same. So you remind the user with with regards to the information for the product that they have already purchased. Additionally, you can also pitch related products, and not just limit yourself to highlighting about what can be the related products, but we can also go one step ahead by highlighting what all can be the various other categories that can be pitched, along with the, of course, the reminder for the product to be replenished. So on the right hand side, we have a replenishment reminder for skin hydration related product. Okay. Now there could be a lot of scenarios wherein the user came onto the website, uh, his or her credit card worked properly, and he or she ended up placing an order. But the moment they did that, very soon thereafter, let's say they canceled the order. Now, what do we do in that case? So herein, I've identified a few nuances that can be utilized to still salvage that particular interaction that the user had with the brand. The very first thing that you could do is pitch him or her related products. So since you are sure that perhaps the black shirt that he purchased, he wants to return it, try pitching him related products, maybe a red colored shirt or maybe a blue colored shirt. That's one way of going about it. The second could be, you could try pitching him or her different categories also. So instead of just restricting yourself to top wear, how about you pitch him or her bottom wear, or maybe even footwear for that matter? The third approach could be that you pitch the best sellers that you have. Something that you're good at and something that sells like hotcakes is something that you could pitch to that particular user. The fourth approach is that you could offer him or her a promo code. Okay, so okay, you are not interested in keeping this product for, let's say, 3,000 rupees. How about you take a 10% or 15% off on that? The last approach could also be feedback. If the user has already made up his or her mind that I'm not interested in keeping this product and I want to return it, how about we take feedback? I mean, let's try to understand what all were the reasons because of which that person went or took the trouble to complete the entire order and then return it. So while in this case there would be no revenue, but we would definitely get very good insights, so that we are able to improve not just upon our product offering, as let's say, like product offering like the website or the app, but also our on our maybe ability to service or on other product related aspects. The next approach that is very important is being able to capture feedback. So I was just talking about it a few seconds back. So I've actually highlighted two approaches with which you can actually ascertain feedback. So the one on the left is what one of our clients is doing when a user is abandoning the the purchase process. Okay, so it's a simple pop-up that shows up. It has a set of radio buttons, so the user is at the liberty to fill in the response and even put in some comments. I mean, if there are certain areas that have not been covered in the radio buttons that are there, the user also has the freedom to put in comments. Okay, and then this particular response gets saved at our end, based on which the client can either just go through the graphical representations that are there. So once the response is captured, data is showcased in a graphical representation format. So you have bar graphs, you have pie charts. So once that analysis is done, the brand is in a much better position to fine tune their offerings in the time to come. On the right hand side, we have a NPS survey that we again did for one of our clients, wherein, as you can see, a lot of different metrics are being captured. So uh, the ratings, the product ratings, how was the overall experience with the brand, with the product, all of that can be captured for the brand to be able to gauge whether the traction with the customer is getting better, is it stagnant, or is it deteriorating, so that corrective actions can be taken. So the next aspect would be dormant user targeting. Uh, while there would be a lot of users who would be buying on a regular, so I'm sorry, there would be a lot of users who would be buying on a regular basis. There would be a even bigger set of users who might not be regular purchasers or maybe even regular visitors on the website. So for that, what we have done is we have bifurcated those audience into two types. Firstly, purchasers, that is people who used to purchase but who have stopped purchasing, and the second category would be visitors who come onto the website but who never purchase. So herein, if you see, for dormant purchaser targeting, what brands can ideally do is you can create three clusters. So users whose last purchase date is, let's say, X days. Second, users whose last purchase date is Y days. And again, users whose last purchase date is, let's say, Z days. Now, the reason why I have kept this as X, Y, and Z is that's because no two brands are similar. The days that would be here for, let's say, a jewelry brand would differ considerably compared to what it would be, let's say, for a grocery brand. So this would eventually depend on the brand's marketers to figure out that what is the duration that you want to keep over here. And once you have the relevant buckets created, you can send relevant communications. I mean, for a user who has uh, who's not purchased from your brand for quite some time, simply just sending a promo code might not help. uh, I mean, definitely sending a higher discount code would definitely be one step towards the right direction. But additionally, we should also sensitize them about what all have they missed. uh, I mean, consider the fact that they've not come back onto to your particular ecosystem. Uh, for users who have, let's say, who used to purchase but who have not purchased within, let's say, the last 30 days or 45 days, you need not offer a promo code to that set of users. You can maybe cross sell more items. You can try to sensitize them about the new offerings that you have. So similarly, it's all about identifying the right time frame, considering the industry that you're in, and thereafter targeting them based on whether they are purchasers or have they just been visitors. So we have two samples on the right highlighting how Arata and Momsco are reaching out to their dormant users. So in both the cases, a promo code is being offered. But as I said, a lot more can be done. You could talk about a lot other aspects to take such a use case ahead. Okay, now uh, I am. I'll now talk about scenarios which is known as the 2C and the 3C concept, and the 2P and the 3P concept. Uh, so a lot of the nuances that pertain to this particular domain would center around category-based interaction and product-based interaction. So let's say there's a brand which has multiple categories. Okay, so let's say there's a hair care category, there's a, let's say, face care category, and there's, let's say, skincare category. Let's identify users who have purchased more than one category. So let's say Taffy is a user who actively purchases the face care and the hair care. Now he would be a good person to be targeted with let's say the skincare category, or maybe the fourth category that you have. So identify users who have purchased two categories, but who has not done a purchase for the third. That's one way to target them. The other nuance could be that in one category, now let's say there are three or four types of products that you have. For users who are purchasing, let's say, two products from a particular category, it makes sense to target them with the third or the fourth product that they have not purchased as of now. So this is again a very potent way with which you can leverage on your marketing efforts, uh, to in a way reactivate users who are already loyal users, but just to increase the the total return that you derive out of them. So the template on the right again highlights a communication being sent to a user who's fairly active, uh, with regards to purchasing a particular category, but not the other one. So this is an effort with which you can increase the average order value from time to time. The next set of use case that we have is product recommendations. So earlier, what brands were simply doing is they were just sending across communications, populating uh, product information or product details with which the user interacted. But in this particular scenario, so Nicobar and Pepperfry both happen to be our clients. And in this particular scenario, if you see underneath, we have also populated what additional products the brand would like to recommend. So if Taffy added to cart a black t-shirt, you can see in the Nicobar template what all other products uh, the brand would recommend, considering the fact that Taffy has already shown interest in the black t-shirt that is there. Similarly, Pepperfry is also highlighting what all products other people have purchased in regards to the table that is there, so as to be able to drive higher conversion. That's because the concept of relatability exists in a very strong fashion over here. So herein you can promote relevant products, you can promote relevant categories. You could also talk about similar variants. I mean, if let's say there was a particular type of jacket, you could talk about different types of jackets in the same product line. Uh, so the next use case pertains to price drop targeting. There could be a lot of scenarios wherein, let's say, a user came onto the website or came onto your app. uh, he or she, let's say, was very keen to, let's say, buy that particular product, but let's say due to financial affordability, the user wasn't willing to go ahead with the purchase. So this is a very important use case which comes in very handy to, in a way, reactivate users who are just not buying it because they want prices to be dropped. So the whole setup for this is very simple. The event is firstly mapped at the platform's end, that okay, these all are the products for whom the user showcased an interest to buy. The moment there's, let's say, a sale, the backend teams simply just need to pass information with regards to that particular product, that let's say the prices for these 100 products have dropped, and then the platform is able to do the relevant mapping and then send across the relevant communication. So in this particular scenario, I've highlighted two templates. The one on the left showcases the reduced price. Okay, so that's one way. But the template on the right, I feel it has used a very innovative way, wherein it's not disclose the price upfront. So they have, in a very smart way, just kept it that reveal the new price, which means there could be a possibility that if the jacket was earlier for 5,000 and now it's, let's say, for just 4,000, I might not be very willing to even engage with the template. But when it says reveal new price, I might feel motivated to click on it in the hope that okay, the price might have reduced to maybe 2,500 or maybe even 2,000. So again, something that needs to be tested and optimized with passage of time with regards to how you are portraying the information in the templates. Okay, the next scenario is simple back in stock targeting. Users came onto your website with the intent to buy a product, but at that point, the products were not in stock. So what the brand simply needs to do is pass that particular information. So pass both types of information. The fact that the user showed interest to buy that product, that can simply be done. So these days there are buttons on the website which simply say that okay, remind me when this particular product is back in stock. Now once that information is obtained at the marketing platform's end, there just needs to be another event that would be triggered from, let's say, the brand's backend, which will just sensitize the platform, the fact that okay, now these are back in stock, and all the people who, let's say, showed interest in buying it need to be apprised about the same. So WebEngage has just recently gone live with the product catalog, which again puts us in a position to get a good understanding about the inventory levels that exist at the client's backend, and based on that, run these campaigns in a very efficient manner. Okay, now another use case which is very potent to drive conversion is the lead score based targeting. So let me first give you a context on how this particular flow works. So the modus operandi herein is very simple. We firstly identify all the touch points that matter to the brand. Now that could be as simple as the email opening, email being clicked, or it could also be users who did a product view, let's say greater than 5, or users who did an added to cart more than 3 times, or people who have made a purchase with us more than, let's say, 5 times. So we identify all of those touch points. Okay, the second thing that we do is we create a user attribute. Now that user attribute could just be, let's say, a lead score. After that, we create a logic wherein we tell the system that okay, every time a user adds a product to the cart, increase their score by 5. Every time a user does a purchase, increase their score by 15. So you can assign negative positive scores. Similarly, you can assign negative scores as well. So let's say a user is removing products from the cart on a regular basis, you dip the score. A user has just unsubscribed you from emails, you reduce the score. So similarly, you can have different scores. There could be a positive score and there could be a negative score based on this. Now, what is going to happen is once you have a journey, something along the lines of what is there in the left screenshot. So this is how a lead score journey looks on the WebEngage dashboard, wherein events have been configured, the system has been apprised of the score updation, or by how much the score needs to be decreased depending upon what particular action happens. So this way, all the users on the WebEngage ecosystem would have a particular score for them. Some would have a high score, some would have a moderate score, and some would have a low score. So once those scores are there, you can then send them relevant communications. For users who are having a low score, it might make sense to send promo code campaigns. It might make sense to capture feedback to to ascertain what is it that's not working for them. On the other hand, for users who are having high scores, they are your loyal users, so makes sense to give them exclusive invites, or maybe tailor make relevant deals to ensure that we obtain continuous patronage from their end. Okay, I have identified a few on-site notification samples. So the one on the top left is a typical lead capture campaign that Ferns and Petals uh, is running via us. The one to its right highlights how on-site notifications can be embedded to even showcase videos. So let's say if there's a brand which wants to showcase what is the approach that they use to make up a particular product, so you can incorporate videos in that. Or if, let's say, you're selling across products and you want to highlight that what is the best possible what is the best way in which this particular product should be used, you can highlight that as well. The one on the top right is a carousel, which is upselling uh, products for based on what particular page the user is on. So if, let's say, a user is on the product page for a particular dress, you could use a carousel to showcase additional offerings that are present. The one on the extreme left, the bottom, is a typical exit intent campaign, which is being triggered when a user is about to leave the website, wherein you could talk about the USPs. In this particular case, they are promoting a promo code, which is going to give the user a 10% off, just to induce them to continue the purchase. Uh, the sample in the bottom center talks about a countdown timer, wherein the fear of missing out is being created just so that the user completes the relevant action before the time expires. The sample on the bottom right is a cart abandonment targeting, but taking place via banners. So if you see, the name of the user and the product detail that the user added to cart has been showcased. So this is something that's going to show up when the user is on the website. Moving ahead, I'd like to talk about web personalization and app personalization. So the conventional approach that was used by a lot of platforms earlier was that there were overlays. So if you had to show a banner, if you wanted to, let's say, show a pop-up, that would appear as an overlay. That is maybe an additional layer over the website that is already there, and it was not a very pleasant experience to look at. That's because sections of your website used to get covered, or sections of your website used to get masked. So keeping that particular aspect in mind, WebEngage is now live with website and app personalization, wherein with just few basic changes in the at the SDK level, you can now create these banners and pop-ups and render them as a part of the website itself. So the experience that your end customer gets is just like as if they are just looking on the website. So the sample for Momsco is an example of website personalization, which is being done for a user based on the products that user has purchased and the product that the user viewed uh, in 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 the last 7 days. So this is how you could create relevant website experiences for every user. So just some addition in this particular aspect is a lot of brands in today's time would be passing information pertaining to user attributes and event attributes. So all of that can be used. You can create segments, and then you can showcase relevant product offerings based on that event data that is being passed. The screenshot on the right highlights uh, highlights a app personalization campaign that Flower Aura is running, wherein only a selected set of audience for whom, let's say, a special date is coming, maybe the date for them to gift something to the other person, to them this particular ribbon which highlights that your loved one's special date is coming is being showcased. So for users who have, let's say, uh, not inputted a specific date, they would not get this particular screen. But users who have already told Flower or that, okay, I would want this particular user to be wished or remind me to purchase gifts for this particular user, that is that is the set of users to which this particular campaign would be showcased. Okay, now there would be a lot of nuances wherein a lot of brands, while having an online presence, would also be working in the conventional brick and mortar approach. So that is again an approach wherein you can use the digital ecosystem very potently. You can capture email IDs and phone numbers and ensure that you drive traffic onto your website and onto your app. You will get an increased outreach over web push, app push, on-site notifications, and in-app notifications. You can cross sell products. So if, let's say, I purchase product A from your store, and if, let's say, you've been able to capture email IDs and phone numbers and route it to marketing automation platforms, you can cross sell. You can do a lot of upsell campaigns. Additionally, you can also uh, create demographic based targeting by capturing, let's say, what is the gender of the user, what is the age, what is the profession, so as to be able to send them relevant communications. You can also run campaigns wherein, let's say, if a user came to the store and didn't find the relevant product, you can perhaps send them email or SMS or use other channels to sensitize them that, okay, now these particular products are back in stock, and you can either maybe come back to the store and purchase it, or go back to and make an order from the website or from the app. Okay, now let's come on to what all are the avenues that you can use to optimize the campaigns that are already running. Okay, so we have identified a few action items, starting from what is the best target time for reactivation, to the order of communications, the frequency at which you should be reaching out to your users, the targeting approach, how aggressive or how subtle it should be, what should be the time gap between these channels, the number of offerings that should be a part of the template, standard content versus more personalized content, and a few other aspects for which we'll just get started on with the discussion. Okay, so the very first approach that I think all the brands should uh, settle down on is, what is the best target time for reactivating a user. So a user adds a product to the cart. Now, do you trigger a communication after 10 minutes, or do you trigger a communication after 1 hour? Now, as far as the WebEngage's funnel analytics is concerned, we have been able to identify strategies whereby the marketer can ascertain that what is the best retarget time. So in this particular case, if you see the screenshot on the right, we've jotted down the completion time of a funnel, which is from added to cart to checkout completed, the relevant conversion rates, and the average time to convert. So this particular table gives us a very good understanding that for the highest possible conversion rate within the confines of reasonableness, of course, which is 16.47%, the average time that the user takes to go from added to cart to complete an order is 38 minutes. So ideally for this particular scenario, adding a buffer time of 2 minutes and then retargeting the user where the cart abandonment email is going to make the maximum sense. Similarly, you could do A/B testing based on the order of communication. So on the left-hand side, the approach being used is subtle to aggressive. So channels like web push, app push are relatively subtle compared to channels like email, which is relatively more intrusive, and SMS, which is most intrusive. So brands should ideally A/B test scenarios wherein, let's say, for one set of users, you should ideally send a web push followed by an app push, then an email, and then the most intrusive channel of SMS. This way, you are gradually increasing the intensity. Plus, it also saves you cost. I mean, if a user is already ready to purchase based on the web push or the app push that he or she got, why invest money in sending an email or SMS to that set of user? The flip side to this would be that we use the aggressive to subtle approach. Now, there could be scenarios wherein the user might not get the web push or might not get the app push because that is internet dependent or connectivity dependent. So, in that case, it would also merit that we send SMS as the first channel, followed by email, and then followed by web push and app push. So, brands at any point in time should be doing a lot of these A/B testing to ascertain that what is the order of communication that works best for them. The next line of testing that you can actually do is to figure out whether light communication is working better for your brand or heavy communication. Now, when I say light communication, it means that user who added a product to the cart, but let's say they are not purchasing within the specified time frame, you just send them one web push, wait for some time, send a push, and then wait for some time and send an email, and that will be all. So this is light communication. Ascertain that what all are the open rates, what all are the click rates, and what is the conversion rate that is being driven because of this light communication. And then you change your strategy to heavy communication, wherein you send two web push, two app push, and two emails, and then ascertain whether the conversions are more, whether the revenue is more, and then decide whether you would want to proceed with light communication going forward or heavy communication. The next approach that we are going to talk about is the targeting approach. The shotgun approach is very simple. A user didn't add it to cart. We wait for some time, and if the user did not make a purchase, you use all the channels on which he or she is reachable. Which means I get a web push, a app push, and email at the same time. In the other case, there could be drip targeting, wherein I first get a web push, there's a wait. I then get an app push, there's a wait, and then I get an email. So brand should ideally try both these approaches and ascertain which is the one that's working better for them. The next approach is the typical comparison between a musket and a machine gun. So what I simply mean herein is that even when it comes to two channels, there would be some time gap. Now, uh, if let's say I sent you a web push, should I send you an app push after just 15 minutes, which would be the case of a machine gun, or should I wait for let's say 2 hours to give ample time to the user to make up his or her mind and then maybe send that particular communication. So in the case of the long time gap, customer bombardment would definitely be prevented as the user is not getting repetitive communications. But the advantage in the approach that is contrary to the earlier one is that by repeatedly sending communications, you would be able to hammer the merits and the benefits of your proposition to ensure that the user doesn't end up making a purchase from your competitor. But what works for you is something that you would have to ascertain yourself by doing that A/B testing. Okay. The next testing that you can actually do is whether your content creatives should have a single offering or whether there should be multiple offerings. So both have their own pros and cons. When it comes to a single offering, there's no distraction that the user has. The product that he or she interacted with is very clear in front of them. It's their call whether they want to buy it or not. No distraction whatsoever. While there's no distraction, but the flip side of this is if they've already made up their mind that they're not interested in buying that product, this communication goes waste. Now, the one on the right is a communication that highlights multiple offerings, wherein while distraction element would definitely be there, that's because that has a lot of other products or categories and text highlighted. But the good thing is, if let's say the user is not interested in buying natural baby wash, a lot of other avenues of products are available, from shampoo to creams and powders. So this again is something that you could A/B test. Okay, the content approach. Whether you would want to go ahead with the standard content. So if you see the template on the left, simply populates the product name, the product image, and the product price. That's it. It doesn't talk about the USPs of the product. It doesn't talk about what it's going to do to, what are going to be its effects, or maybe what all ingredients have gone into its making. So that's again something that you can A/B test with. In a lot of case, consumers might not like a lot of information in the template, but a lot of consumers on the other hand might like to be sensitized about what all ingredients are going into making that product, or what all are the effects that it's going to have. So again, you can actually A/B test whether standard content is working better for you or a more specific content. Again, so A/B test is something that is recommended strongly, wherein using A/B test variations, you can identify what all are the best performing subject lines, what is the best performing content. Also, you can identify that what is the best layout type for your specific brand, and also the color options. So this way, you can actually ascertain what is the kind of content that is working for you, what is the kind of content that is not. WebEngage also has the capability wherein you can configure that, okay, for a particular campaign, send 10% of this variation and send 10% of this variation. And then depending upon which is the winner variation, the 80% of the base is then targeted based on the winning variation that is there. So again, that is something that can again be leveraged to the fullest. Okay, now everything that I cited needs to be reported uh, in a very documented manner. That's because I've highlighted 6 to 7 different A/B testing techniques. If a marketer does everything randomly and if you don't report it, all of this effort is going to get wasted. It's also my suggestion that whenever you initiate the activity to A/B test these multiple parameters, just vary one particular parameter, keeping others the same, so that you have a clear-cut understanding that if there was a improvement or if there was a deterioration, to what particular change can that be attributed to. So reporting everything that happens step by step and in a methodical way is super important to ensure that you are able to optimize your campaigns or journeys. Okay, so I'll just quickly run you through some of the analytics metrics that WebEngage offers, with which our clients are able to get better insights and target the customers in a much better way. So funnels is something that I think I covered in detail, wherein not only are you able to ascertain the best wait time before you send a communication, but you can also identify areas from where the users are leaking out. So if let's say a considerable number of users landed onto the product page, but very few are doing an added to cart, perhaps that product page needs to have more information that induces the user to add to cart. So you can maybe put in information pertaining to how those products are made, or how many people have already purchased it, or you can even incorporate customer testimonials and then see if that information is helping, because ideally once that happens, the user progression from product view to added to cart would definitely increase, which is something that you can track from the funnels that is there. The next section, the another analytics tool that we offer is the cohorts. So if there are questions, when do I send a replenishment reminder to the user, when do I cross sell, or even if you were to just gather whether the welcome series are yielding good dividends or not, cohorts can be used. So cohorts, in the cohorts functionality, you are simply able to draw interrelationships between two relevant events. So if I want to ascertain when is it when would be the right time for me to send a reminder communication to a user who has, let's say, purchased a 15 kg rice bag. So what you can do is you can simply create a cohort of users who did a checkout completed for a bag of rice, and with the return event of checkout completed for the same bag of rice. And depending upon the data that loads, you'll easily be able to identify that what is the average trend based on which that repurchase communication needs to be sent across. uh, we are now also offering paths wherein you get granular level insights based on what did the user do before they converted, Also, what all activities did the user do on the website or on the app before they simply bounced off. Plus, for product marketers, this is a very potent feature which is going to give good insights about what all particular features are a user adopting, and what all features are the user not adopting. Also, for brands which are app first, there's also a good understanding that you can get about what all activities do a user perform on the app before they uninstall it, so that you can remedy those particular action items to ensure there are lesser installs and more app traction. Another analytic functionality that we have is recency, frequency, and monetary analysis, wherein the WebEngage algorithm bucketizes users in different clusters based on the recency score that we allocate, the frequency score that we allocate, and the monetary score that we allocate. So based on this, all that a marketer needs to do is simply click on these relevant buckets, a relevant segment gets created, and thereafter you can send relevant communications. So users who are at risk need to be salvaged with maybe promo codes, but users who are loyal need to be patronized with more suitable offerings. It would also make a lot of sense if a brand can create buyer personas, wherein you create segments of groups not just based on recency, frequency, and monetary aspects, but let's say based on age, based on their marital status, based on, let's say, their profession. So once this particular bucket is created, just analyze their behavior on the website or on the app. You'll glean a lot of information. What all are the kind of products that they buy? What is the frequency of that purchase? And based on that, you can tailor make your retargeting efforts. So send time optimization is now a functionality that is live at WebEngage. For those of you who are not aware of what this does, the WebEngage algorithm understands what is the best target, what is the best time on which Taffy is likely to open a communication compared to the time when some other user is about to open a communication, or rather engage with that communication. So with such an approach, you can drive higher open rates and resultantly better click rates. Uh, so all that needs to be done is, before you send a campaign, you just click the relevant option, and the WebEngage ecosystem is going to calculate that, okay, in the past, Taffy has been opening his emails within the window of 3 to 5. So send an email to Taffy from that time frame. But if there's another user who's opening that communication from, let's say, 9 to 10, that particular communication gets sent to that user in that particular time frame. Okay, so I'll quickly just run you through some content related suggestions. It is very important, according to me, to incorporate mission and vision and value statements in the content that you sent across, since a lot of your users might be interested to know what is the background or what is the foundation based on which your brand is being built. Unique selling proposition should definitely be incorporated, as this is something that sets you apart from all the other competitors that are there. Incorporating awards and recognitions that your brand has won would definitely show you in a much better light compared to others in the domain. Number of happy customers, number of product lines is a testament to your ability to serve your customers in the best possible manner. Obviously, highlighting customer testimonials with real user images would also go a long way in inspiring or building a lot of trust that is required. Incorporating social media buttons is again a very good approach, with which users are able to see a deeper image, or what all other activities the brand is associated with. If a brand is discharging any corporate social responsibility, that again calls to be added in the communication that you're sending. You should definitely incorporate GIFs. I'll talk about more of that in just a few seconds from now. So herein I've identified some content related suggestions. So starting from the top left, the brand is highlighting the USPs with which they're offering their products, and what is that sets them apart from those in the similar space. The content in the center for ferns and petals have incorporated, as in this particular scenario they're using multiple call to action buttons. So what brands conventionally do is they just have one particular button, which would have been the proceed now. But what they're doing is they've also incorporated a sales section to induce people who are discount chasers. So had this just been a communication sent with the proceed now, if the user had decided that I'm not interested in completing my cart, this communication would have uh, simply got wasted. So in this particular scenario, by adding a sales section, the likelihood of customer engagement increases because you're giving them another avenue to interact with. The campaign on the extreme right is a sample of a customer testimonial which features images, thereby making the whole testimonial more realistic and more relatable, and of course genuine. The screenshot at the bottom highlights how utilizing emojis in the subject line sets your communication apart from those communications which are simply text centric. So we have actually experienced that open rates improve significantly when emojis are present compared to the fact when your subject lines are just text based. It's very important to incorporate countdown timers. So a screenshot with regards to the same has been highlighted in the content that is showcasing watches. That's because it creates a fear of missing out. The two templates on the right, which have the content of talisman, are essentially GIFs. So it's just one email, but showcasing different content, which just changes within uh, after every like 1 or 2 seconds. So the good thing is, once the user opens it up, not only are you able to showcase more products or more offerings in that confined space, but also since it changes form, it definitely attracts the user's attention, which means that the click rates would definitely be much higher compared to the fact had it been just a static template. The image on the bottom highlights uh, how the user's attention can be grabbed if you incorporate the user's first name. So my eyes would definitely go to the Swiggy Genie email which says Taffy get ready for love, since it's featuring my name, compared to other emails which are not personalized. It's very important in today's time for brands to indulge in a lot of gamification. That's because the table that you see on the right hand side is indicating user traction for web push and app push as a channel. So, unlike email and SMS, wherein a communication would get delivered, even if I send a communication, email communication, or an SMS communication to a user 5 years since their activity with the website, because email and SMS would get delivered as long as the addresses are working, or let's say the email ID is valid or the number is valid. Web push and app push ecosystem works differently. For a user to continuously get web push and app push, they need to come back onto the website so that the token can be refreshed. Resultantly, it's very important for brands in today's time to send campaigns because of which the user can come back onto the website or on the app for the token to be able to be refreshed so that web push and app push traction continues. Else, you can see if this is something that's not done, the impression rate for web push and the click rate for both web push and app push is likely to decrease significantly, as it's been highlighted in this particular case. uh, it's very important to prevent user bombardment. So I've just highlighted some ways in which you can do that. So you could exclude purchases of last few days from the campaign that you're sending. You could exclude users who have performed added to cart or maybe done a checkout started in the last, let's say, a particular time frame. You could also exclude users who have already been active on the website for the last, let's say, 7 to let's say 15 days. Additionally, you should also not bombard users or not reach out to users who are, let's say, opening your emails, opening your let's say clicking on SMS or interacting with web push and app push on a regular basis. Last but not the least, please incorporate frequency capping checks so that we only send relevant communication to the user and don't end up bombarding them unnecessarily. So that's all for now, guys. I'm open to any questions that you would have. Hello. Yeah. So I can see a set of questions. So the first question is the ways to increase web push opt-in rates. Uh, yes. So there in today's time, there are two types of web push prompts that you can actually showcase. One would be the native, wherein all that the user needs to do is just click on allow once and you're good to go. But one of the flip side for the same is that you can't actually alter or let's say customize the content that is there. So that is something that you can do with other layouts. But again, the flip side in that is that the user needs to click on the first opt-in that comes and then again click on the native one. So my suggestion would be that if you are a brand who has just started afresh, uh, utilize the native opt-in prompt, as the user would just need to click once on the allow and you're good to go. But if you are a brand that is already popular or are already in a way driving a lot of traffic, it makes sense for you to have genuine opt-ins. In that particular case, I would suggest that you use uh, the double opt-in, wherein you can have a customizable message which highlights that why should a user click on allow and not on block. uh, that way you'll get a genuine database of users which you can grow on. uh, mm, I'm not able to comprehend Mufaddal's question very clearly, so if you can just rephrase it, I can come to that. Let me go on to the next set of questions. Yeah, so I'll answer Samuel's question. So Samuel, I think the first part in your particular use case would be uh, that you need to start passing events so that we are able to understand that okay, a user did a product view but then maybe move on to the next part of the funnel. Once all of those events are being passed, uh, we would not only be able to create a funnel that is ascertain that, I'm sorry, just give me a minute please. Yeah. So I was saying, once you are in a position to pass the relevant events to us, not only would we be able to retarget users based on that, that okay, a user did a particular action, did not do a second action, retarget, but you would also be able to analyze where is it that the user follow is happening from. So that is again something that can be done. Uh, Additionally, you can also capture information like the email ID, phone number based on the lead capture form that I spoke about. Okay, so AMP, uh, I've not had considerable experience working with brands which are using AMP email, but from the initial insights that I've got, it is a good use case wherein let's say if a particular brand has showcased, if let's say a particular user has showcased interest in a particular product or in a particular service, now offering user the ability to in a way interact with let's say the brand's ecosystem on the email itself would definitely go a long way, because uh, there are there is high chance of a user dropping off once a email or once a communication is sent. So if the entire ecosystem of the brand can be manifested on let's say the email that is sent, that would definitely go a long way in ensuring that lesser users drop off and more of them go towards the conversion. So I'll answer Subodh's question. So he feels that after doing all of this, he wants my take. No, so Subodh, I personally feel that that's as a matter of fact, just to ensure that users don't get bombarded, I had incorporated the last slide. So we strongly believe in the fact that whenever it comes to targeting users, firstly send personalized communications. I mean, if I'm sending you irrelevant communication, you're definitely going to get irritated. So personalization is the key. In addition to personalization, sending optimum amount of communication also helps. So when I was talking about the journey targeting, I made reference to a fact wherein, let's say, I view a product, I add a product, and then let's say I go on to a next stage. Now why should I be getting 3 emails? If the brand has orchestrated the entire retargeting effort in a very systematic manner, I should just be getting one communication. In that one communication, you not only talk about the product that I added to cart, but also talk about product recommendations. So make an attempt to cross sell, make an attempt to upsell. So this way you limit the number of communications and send relevant communications. So in that case, sales definitely would take place without, in a way, irritating the end users. So while web push is definitely a medium that is more suitable to people who are on desktop, uh, Uh, but it's not the case that if, let's say, a user doesn't open the system at that point in time, the web push communication gets lost. You can actually have a queuing time frame based on which you can decide that, okay, if I'm sending a communication right now, till what particular time should this communication be active, so that even if the user opens it up after, let's say, 2 hours, he or she should be exposed to that particular communication. In addition to that, any use case that we spoke about, may that be welcome series, may that be funnel abandonment, may that be cross sell, may that be upsell, may that be reminder, even transactional communications for that matter can be incorporated on web push as a channel. Additionally, if, let's say, there are nuances wherein a user is not reachable on web push, now that's the beauty of WebEngage as an omni-channel platform. We are in a position to comprehend that, okay, a user is reachable on this particular channel and also on this particular channel. So you can put in relevant checks. If due to some reason we are not getting traction from, let's say, web push as a channel, you can definitely send across email or SMS as maybe a second line or as a third line of communication. Yeah. So conversion tracking is one of the tools that we have incorporated into our journey builders and our standalone campaigns. Therein you can actually configure the relevant product names with which, based on which, it is actually going to get mapped whether the product that was added to cart is the same one that has been purchased or not. Cool. So I don't think there are any more questions. So uh, thank you very much, guys, for joining in, and good day to all. Bye bye.